Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Susan. Welcome, everybody, to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host, Josh Taylor, in tonight for Bob Pompiani. I know I didn't wear the onesie tonight. It was a one-night deal. Sorry. I had to go back to the suit and tie. But that's okay. We're here anyway. And I got Gene Collier here with me, if that means anything to you, from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Gene, good to see you again. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Likewise. 2019, not too far away now.
I missed the onesie?
You missed the onesie. I did it last night for Christmas.
Oh, my. Nice.
I wasted the good surprise on Paul's ice.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll ask him about it.
I'm sure he'll give you good reviews.
Okay, good.
It got good response on Twitter. It was awesome. Want to talk to you, Gene, first off. Let's get into the Steelers here, because we know this is a game that's coming up Sunday against Cincinnati that not only do they need to win, they need help. Cleveland needs to be Baltimore, or the Colts and Titans need to tie in order for the Steelers to get into the playoffs. Good news today, James Conner, full participant in this game. If you're going to go into a game that's do or die, you'd like to have a guy like James Conner. Wanted to get your thoughts going into this game, not only in terms of winning it and obviously what it means, but in terms of, let's say this team does get into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. How confident do you feel about this team with a healthy James Conner, with this roster, and everything they've been through, the opportunities that they seemingly have wasted going into this game, even if they do make a playoff spot?
Well, I think they've demonstrated that they certainly can be self-destructive, Josh. But really, I mean, just from a competitive standpoint, I think the Steelers can beat anybody. I thought they played really well in New Orleans, a few plays notwithstanding. I thought they played a great game against New England. And up until they started, frittering the lead away, they were playing a great game against San Diego, and those are three of the best teams in the league, in my view. So I think they can play with anybody, and I think they can beat anybody. Will they? I mean, I don't even know if they'll have the chance. But if they got into a postseason, I would think they would be, as dangerous as any team out there, to everybody, including themselves. That's
a good way to put it, because as dangerous as they've been to the better teams in the league, this is the same team that went on the road and blew a 14-point lead and tied against Cleveland. Mm-hmm. This is the same team that lost in Denver, the same team that lost in Oakland, and also the same team that gave up that 16-point lead against the Chargers that you mentioned. So this is a team that's been able to not only be good against good teams, they've done a really great job of self-sabotage against some bad teams, and I think that's why a lot of people have a sour taste right now when it comes to this particular group.
Well, a lot of people have a sour taste, Josh, because a lot of the Steeler audience feels like they should never lose, and they should never be out of the playoffs, and they should never lose in the playoffs, and they should be in the Super Bowl every year and win 50-0. It's unrealistic.
Now, the expectation, I believe, is still there because of the talent on this team. Ben Roethlisberger, considered to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Antonio Brown, the best receiver in the game, well on his way to being one of the best that's ever played. Juju Smith-Schuster, one of the better young players in the game. A couple of Pro Bowlers in that offensive line. So you look at that talent on offense and say, well, this is a team that's expected to do a lot. But I don't think the disappointment is necessarily there. I think the disappointment maybe is with a defense that kind of took a long time to come around, maybe 8 or 9 games, to really start to find its rhythm and find itself out. A couple of free agent choices like John Bostic and Morgan Burnett maybe that haven't been as what people expect them to be, maybe haven't panned out the way people hoped. So there is some hesitation there. I know a lot of people are frustrated with Keith Butler and some of the decisions that he makes in-game and personnel-wise. So is it more or less the expectation of this team to do well because of the franchise, or is there still some frustration mixed in there because of some of the other outlying factors on this team as well?
Well, I think that, the defense has been uneven, but it's turned into, in my view, a pretty decent defense, a top 10 defense. I think you can look that up.
Right.
I think defense across the league is really uneven. It's hard to play defense in this league.
Joe Hayden would probably agree with you.
Joe Hayden would agree with you. There you go. So, yeah, I mean, I know people are frustrated, but, you have to be realistic. I mean, the Steelers have a lot of talent. They're not the only team with talent. There are 32 teams out there all drawing from the same talent pool with the exact same amount of money.
That's true.
So, I mean, the Steelers have attached to them, in my view, and have for a long time, unrealistic expectations. Not of themselves, but by their audience.
Staying in the vein of mentioning Joe Hayden, he was awarded the Chief Award today for the player that best personifies the spirit of cooperation with the media. I know some people probably don't look at that as an award that maybe means a lot, but in your experience, there have been some pretty memorable players that have won that award. What, to you personally, what does the Chief Award really mean as far as legacy-wise for some of the players that have been in this organization?
Yeah, well, I was honored to know the Chief the last couple of years of his life, and the Chief was somebody who always liked sports writers. It's not that he admired sports writers. He thought we just had the life of Riley, as he used to say. But he was always friendly with us, and he was a great reader of the sports pages and consumer of sports media, and he was always, very nice to us all, and that's why, the award for this is named after him, and Joe Hayden is, as worthy of a recipient as the Steelers have had in my memory. He's just a very engaging person and someone who's always willing to help us, which is really a valuable thing in this era, in my view. One
thing that stuck out to me, he had a brief press conference after being named the winner of the Chief Award, named after, of course, Art Rooney. And the one thing he talked about was how he tries to keep an even keel. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. But the thing that I think stuck out is that even since this game in New Orleans ended, there has been this continued sense of accountability with Joe Hayden, where he'll tell you, you know what, I felt like sometimes that my effort wasn't great, but, or I should say my results weren't great, but it wasn't based on my effort. But there's still an accountability factor there. Here's what we'll do. We got to take a break here. We're going to come back. We'll talk a little bit more about this and just accountability as a whole, Gene. I want to pick your brain on this because a couple guys kind of called themselves out after that New Orleans game came to a loss. We'll take a break. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stick around.
The Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by Ireland Contracting, Pittsburgh's #1 home exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters.